Everybody, happy Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. I've decided that I'm going to start dropping one video a week, and I'm going to do what I like to call a one and done. So I'm going to shoot one video, no edits, and just be done and post it. Done. One and done. What? One and done. What? One and done. What? One and done. One and done. So maybe I'll do that dance every video. Maybe not. So one and done. Okay, so today I wanted to talk to you about forgiveness, particularly forgiving your parents. I've been having some conversations with adults lately, and in them talking about their plan, their vision for the year, or resolutions, a lot of what I'm hearing is about, I have to forgive my mom, I have to forgive my dad, I have to forgive so-and-so who raised me, and I have to figure out how to have that breakthrough. Okay, well, Here's a little something to help you along the way. In terms of our parents, we have to remember that they are people just like us. Before you were born, they had their own lives with their own histories and their own stuff that led them to the point where you were born. But we tend to forget that our parents are people. They are on their own journey, on their own path. And had you lived that life in that way with those people and those influences, you may have probably ended up in the exact same place and done the exact same things, because we operate on our programs and we operate based on what we know. I really, really believe that most people do the best they can with what they know how. I really do. And so if we keep that in mind, not just for ourselves, but also for our parents, it is easier for us to forgive them. We create these expectations and this box, and we say, my mom should act like this. Where'd that come from? A movie, a TV show, a book that you read? You saw somebody else's parent act a certain way, and you thought, why doesn't my mom act like that? Because that's not your mom, right? That person came from a different background with a different journey. We have to remember that we are doing and acting according to our journeys and where we are up to that point. So our parents are no different. They are on their own journey. They are exploring. They're trying to figure it out. And babies don't come with handbooks. They're trying to figure it out as they go along. If they were beat and that's how they were taught was discipline, that's why you got beat. Because that's what they believed was discipline. If they were never around and they always took off, maybe their parents were never around and always took off. We have to try to remember that, again, they are just people, just like us. And so it is really important that we forgive them. The Bible talks about the importance of honoring thy mother and father. Now, he says to honor your mother and father, and part of that is to forgive them and to release all of those burdens that we are carrying. That's how we can honor them, because then once we forgive them and we free ourselves of the heaviness of those burdens, we can then send them love. Now, I'm not saying that you get to hang out with them, and if they're healthy, if they're toxic, if they're unhealthy or toxic, that you should be spending lots of time with them. That's not what I'm saying. We have to decide if someone is not healthy or toxic for us. We have to decide, you know what? I don't have room for that right now in my life. Because the reality is that they are our parents and they will impact and influence us. So even if we don't end up following in their behaviors, if we're still allowing that to constantly be around us, it has negative implications on us. So we get to decide, say, you know what? No, thank you. I'm not going to pursue a relationship, but I am going to honor you by forgiving you. I am going to honor you by loving you from a distance. I'm going to honor you by praying for you and hoping for the best for you. That's how I'm going to honor you in this place. And then there are times where we can go to our parents and say, here's where I was hurting, and own that. That's ours. And I forgive you. I forgive you. Even if they feel like they didn't need to be forgiven for anything. It is important that we say it. And even if they say, I'm not going to accept that because I don't feel like I'm worthy, then you know that really they're broken and we need to pray for them, and we need to pray that love is bestowed upon them in every way so that they can recognize their own worthiness to be forgiven. So I know that that's a lot, right? I'm like dumping a lot, but I think it is really important that we are forgiving of our parents. Particularly for myself, I grew up without a father, without a consistent father figure, and my own father was in and out of prison my whole life. So when I finally met him, I was in my 20s, and when I met him and had a conversation with him, I realized that really God saved me from having this man in my life. He saved me. And it was like this, not even an aha moment. Like I felt like my head, it's just like, right? Because thank you, sweet baby Jesus, for keeping this man out of my life, because I don't know who I would have been or where I would be if he was in my life. So sometimes I had the opportunity to have closure, and not all of you will. But we have to look at it and recognize that maybe there's a greater plan at work here. Maybe that person wasn't in your life for a reason. Maybe that person wasn't in your life because that influence would have had a negative implication on where you are and who you are today, right? So if we forgive them, release that of ourselves, you just get it off of you, surrender that to God, get rid of that, and then say, maybe there's a greater plan at work here. Maybe it's that. And then that, like moving forward in that perspective can really alter for you how you look at them and also how you look at yourself. If you are a parent, please, please, please don't let your children believe, not for a moment, that you're perfect. When you make mistakes, apologize. Let's break this cycle of this perpetual cycle of unforgiveness because we have these expectations. We have to release the expectation in order to increase the appreciation, right? I released the expectation of my father to do X, Y, and Z, and I was able to increase the appreciation that he provided the sperm so that I could be born. Hey, right? There's something. There's always something that we can appreciate them for. And again, forgiveness does not mean relationships. Forgiveness is freedom for you. So I hope that that makes sense. I know I was going off for a minute there, and I hope that that really helps someone to help them align kind of this reminder that their parents are people. Everyone's on their own journey. They did the best they could with what they knew how. And that when we release expectation, we're able to increase appreciation. And that will really transfer into any and all relationships. So that's it for today. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I hope your new year is really super sparkly everything. And it can be. Again, it's all in our perspective. If we choose to focus on the like, oh, woe to me, I didn't have a dad growing up, it's going to be bad. But if I'm like, oh, you know what? God did me a favor by not putting that man in my life and I'm better off because of it, that again changes our entire dynamic and perspective. So we get to choose how we see our lives. So that's it for today. Happy Tuesday. I love you guys. Super sparkly everything. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your month, and I will see you next week. Super sparkly everything. Super sparkly everything. Super sparkly.